If I know anything about people who enjoy spooky stuff, it's that they love triangles. From the Illuminati to Bermuda, we just adore triangles with sinister auras. So I was thrilled to learn that there's a strange triangle right here in Massachusetts. It's called the Bridgewater Triangle. According to Wikipedia, the Bridgewater Triangle was given its name by Lauren Coleman, a cryptozoologist and author, and this triangle has everything: ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, giant snakes, and thunderbirds, which are giant birds with great branding. This story starts off, as all great paranormal stories from Massachusetts do, with a Native American curse. During King Philip's War, which lasted between 1675 and 1678, and featured the New England colonies facing off against the indigenous people of the area, the Wampanoag people lost an object known as a wampum belt, and it is said that losing this belt caused the area to be cursed. But don't worry, the area also has seen its fair share of white people mysticism, as the triangle has historically been a hotspot for cult activity and murder. In 1978, a 15-year-old Mary Lou Aruda was found murdered, and this is from a description of the podcast episode about Mary Lou Aruda called The Lonely Death of Mary Lou Aruda by All Rise Boston, hosted by Deanna Godfrey. And it says, Joanna Aruda knew something was terribly wrong. It was late afternoon on Friday, September 8th, 1978, 2 days after her daughter's 15th birthday, but Mary Lou still wasn't home. She had been out riding her bike in her Raynham, Mass. Neighborhood about 32 miles south of Boston. The orange 10-speed bike turned up on a dirt road near her home, but Mary Lou would not be found for 2 months. On November 11th, kids riding dirt bikes came across her standing body tied to a tree 18 miles away from the Aruda home in Freetown State Forest. Her possessions had been arranged in a semicircle in front of her, and most gruesomely, her head was near them. She had been strangled and abandoned. James Cater, a 31-year-old who worked in a Brockton, Mass. Donut shop, soon emerged as a suspect. He had been released from prison in January of 1976 for a shockingly similar crime. In that case, a 13-year-old girl had survived the strangulation, and after Cater left her, was able to untie herself. His lime green car had been seen in Mary Lou's neighborhood. Physical evidence was found, and his alibi soon fell apart. Crater's sentence for kidnapping and murder sent him to prison for the rest of his life, but he continued to fight the verdict. In 1979, a satanic cult murdered 3 women in the Triangle, as Mary Jo Curtis put in South Coast Today, quote, Satanic cult members murdered 3 young women involved in Fall River prostitution. The bodies of the 2 women are found elsewhere with their skulls crushed, their hands and legs lashed together. Only the mutilated skull of the 3rd victim is recovered. Police investigators locating evidence of devil-worshipping activity at several locations in the forest believe the victims were lured by the cult and slain in a ritualistic sacrifice. 3 cult members are later convicted of the murders, close quote. In 1998, a dirt biker found the body of a headless cow in the area, and according to Freetown police, a dozen calves were killed in that same spot in April of the same year. From that 1998 South Coast Today article, quote, Detective Lieutenant Alan L. Alves said both killings appear to have been part of a local satanic cult's sacrificial rituals, close quote. Goddamn, that is dark. I don't really want to get into the true crime aspect of these things, but I did think that these grisly events establish a kind of darkness that occurs in this area. Let's move on to less terrible things like Bigfoot. Allegedly, people have seen Bigfoot in the Bridgewater State Forest. In fact, when CBS News went to explore the state forest and talk to people about the Bridgewater Triangle, one woman, who later identified herself as a, quote, character of the common, said, they found Bigfoot's body stretched out on the bank, but he was dead. He died. Apparently, nobody in Bridgewater owns a camera, I guess. Just a huge scientific discovery laying on the bank of a lake, and no one thought to snap a picture. No, it's fine. That's fine. Let's get to the Thunderbird, because that's a super cool name. This is from one of my favorite books, Weird New England. Quote, a giant bird is occasionally seen. The number of reports suggests that a whole flock of them might reside within the triangle. About 2 o'clock one summer night in 1971, For example, Norton Police Sergeant Thomas Downey was patrolling along Winter Street in Mansfield on a place known as Bird Hill. He spied a gigantic winged creature flying straight upward. It was over 6 feet tall, with a wingspan of 8 to 12 feet. He was not the first to see such feathered phantoms in that particular spot. Perhaps such sightings explain why it's called Bird Hill. Perhaps. Now, to this point, I've only really covered other people's writings about the Bridgewater Triangle, but I've actually been to it, specifically the Bridgewater State Forest, and I have a story to add to this. So it was late summer after my freshman year of college, and I was hanging out with my friend Nikki, who also is into the paranormal, and she started telling me about this haunted forest. Of course, being full of youthful vigor and having, quite frankly, nothing better to do, we drove out to it, parked the car just outside of the forest, and rolled down the windows, just to listen. We weren't quite brave enough to explore it. We said that it was because we didn't have any cameras or ghost hunting equipment, but I feel like that was more of a convenient excuse than anything else. So we're sitting in the car, listening, and it's eerily quiet at first. Usually a forest in the middle of summer is teeming with life, but this one wasn't. Then, slowly, I began to hear what I can only really describe as whispers. Like people whispering in another room. You can't quite make out what they're saying, but you know they're speaking all the same. This went on for a few minutes as I tried to convince myself that I wasn't actually hearing anything. So I turned to Nikki and I asked, "What do you hear right now?" She looked me dead in the eyes and asked back, "Do you hear the whispering too?" We both laughed in the kind of way that you do when you're trying not to panic and decided that we better leave and return later with proper equipment, which we did actually do. But I spent hours trying to find that footage from 2012 and it's gone. Fortunately, I was able to find a few pictures from Facebook. The date is super wrong on them, but that's fine. Anyways, the footage is likely sitting on some hard drive collecting dust somewhere, but you aren't really missing much, just us walking around the woods at night with night vision on. At one point, a dog appeared out of nowhere, but it was a pretty chill dog, and it went back into the forest. I don't think it was anything paranormal, but kind of an interesting thing to have happen. So, can I say that it's definitely haunted? No, but there was a very strange experience. So have you ever been to the Bridgewater Triangle? Do you have any stories about it? Let me know in the comments. And thank you so much for watching this video. We'll see you in the next one. Make sure to check out our other channels, including Where You Get Everything, Those Fake Nerds, Where You Get Sports, and our podcasting channel, Better Radio. Thank you so much for watching again, and we'll see you in our next video.